Today we are diving into a growing conversation that's shaking social media and real-life communities. More and more Black people are noticing a pattern, a specific kind of jealousy, obsession, and hidden resentment coming from certain Latinos and Asians. Not all, but those who quietly cannot stand seeing Black success, Black culture, and Black joy shining so brightly. So we have to talk about it because the tension is real, the reactions are loud, and the truth is undeniable.
I need some Black joy. The fact that Black joy even exists as a concept in the world is miraculous to me.
So I think people are so not used to seeing genuine Black joy that they honestly don't know what to do when they see it.
I think white people are so triggered by Black joy because they have zero control over it. And white people are all about control. And anything they don't get to control and manage and dictate freaks them the hell out.
They don't get to be the leader.
Why is it that Black people just existing in a positive, happy, or joyful state bothers y'all so much?
Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, please subscribe. Now, we all know that Black culture runs the world, and some people cannot handle it. Black music dominates the world. Black fashion shapes global trend. Black slang became mainstream. Black athletes, actors, creators lead entertainment. This level of influence makes some people quietly uncomfortable. They study Black culture, copy Black culture. But when Black people succeed being themselves, jealousy kicks in. Some Latinos and Asians love Black culture, but they don't want to see Black people winning. They copy Black hairstyles. They use Black slang. They dance to Black music, they dress in Black streetwear, and even build the entire online personas from Black culture.
The world's obsession with deeply melanated women, with melanin-rich women, with Black women needs to be fucking studied. Why would you put on that costume? I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even, it gets to a motherfucking point. It gets to a point. What is that? I don't even know what to say. Literal costumes, literal blackface. Like, people are so obsessed, yet they swear that they can't stand us and we have no culture and everybody got Black fatigue, which you can't have Black fatigue if you're not a Black person, but y'all already know they co-ops and colonize. Everybody in the fucking world swears that they cannot stand Black people, particularly Black women, yet this is the type of shit that they do. In every part of the world, somebody's copying us. They swear we have no culture, don't nobody care, though ain't nobody trying to be like you. Explain this. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. The obsession is real.
Yet these same people turn bitter when Black people shine. They want the culture without the people. They want the rhythm without the struggle. They want the style without respecting the source. The obsession is real. Some of these individuals spend hours mimicking Black accents, dressing like Black influencers, following every Black trend, trying to date Black women or men for status, monitoring everything that Black people do online. But the moment Black people wins, suddenly it changes. Why are they always getting attention? Why do they get praised? What about us? Now the obsession turns into competition. Competition turns into jealousy. Jealousy turns into resentment.
Racism is about jealousy. If you think that's a reductive statement, please stick with me. When I say jealousy, I'm talking about insecurity, which is really what jealousy is, but I think it's easier to understand if I say insecurity rather than just jealousy. Because we know from appropriation that we are very jealous of other cultures. Why would we want to listen to the music, eat the food, wear the clothes, do the hairstyles, have everything, the language, but not give credit where credit is due and not uplift the people who created it. White people are so lost in feeling like they don't have a connection to culture, especially many of us who are very far removed from our European roots. And I think the need to fill that space and that insecurity of this lack of culture and lack of something to call our own is often filled with cultural appropriation and the idea that being white is superior. I was first introduced to this concept of racism being jealousy in college, and I can't trace it back to one particular scholar, but I would like to give credit where credit is due to that Black scholar. If you can find anything tracing it to one particular person, please leave that in the comments. I think it's important to think about racism in this way if we want to unlearn it. Because, as some people say who are non-monogamous, or anyone who's just working on their relationships, jealousy is an indicator that something is not quite right with us. It's an indicator of our insecurity and how we might be feeling. It's not about what our partner is doing or what someone on Instagram is doing with their life that makes us feel inadequate. It's about something going on inside. And I think we really need to interrogate that. What is it about people of color showing excellence, people of color maybe being more in touch with culture, people of color being more in touch with the environment, people of color making better food, and everything else that we envy? What does that trigger in us? And why do we have the need to put those people down? It's about jealousy. And if we can figure out that we're feeling that way and trace that feeling back to maybe some of our unconscious biases, I think it's a lot easier to start thinking about how can we unlearn that? How can I feel secure in my identity as a white person who has roots in maybe Italian and like other cultures, but like doesn't really feel connected to anything? How can I feel secure in myself to not want to put others down, whether that be racism or any other form of discrimination, or just plain hating on another woman because she's amazing? You know, I think this makes it seem like racism is very simple, but it also just helps us frame it in a way that's accessible to us. We know that dismantling racism starts with individual work, and personal growth is all about thinking about the hard things about yourself and the things and parts of yourself that you don't like. And jealousy is one of those things. No one wants to be jealous. It's an awful, awful feeling. And we don't want to admit that we're jealous. And we shy away from that, but it's something we can interrogate, and I think that is going to help us go a long way. Anyway, just my thoughts. Happy Juneteenth. I hopefully will speak about this more coherently in the future. Black Lives Matter.
You know what's crazy to me, bro, is when they had the BLM protest, everybody was popping out. Every celebrity, YG, the Ball brothers, everybody was popping out. Where's that now? Where are the celebrities now? Where are they protesting now? Where are the teams now? Why is nobody speaking up? Even Kendrick Lamar made a song. Lil Baby made a song. But where's everybody now?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Where's J-Lo? Where's Bad Bunny? Where's Maluma? Where's Shakira? Talk to your own people. Because J-Lo was just up on the pulpit at the inauguration doing this.
Y justicia para todos. Let's get loud.
No matter what happens in this country, everyone under that POC umbrella always finds a way to put the focus back on black people. Obviously, we understand what's going on right now with the ICE raids that are going on in America and Los Angeles, to be specific. But there have been a lot of Latino people coming online asking about black celebrities and black people showing up and comparing this event to BLM. Now, don't get me wrong. We were home during the pandemic. People had no jobs. People weren't in the office. And yes, black people, black celebrities, black businessmen showed up for black people. corporations and teams that had black people on them showed up for their black constituents and their black workers. As it currently stands as demographic, there are more Latinos in America than there are black people. And half of that population voted for what's going on right now. Speak to your own population. Stand up for yourself with each other. Talk internally about how you're so disjointed between the Central and South Americans and the Caribbean people in the East Coast. Talk to each other. Why are you looking for black people to put you guys on a pedestal and go fight for you when this is also your fight, primarily your fight? Black Lives Matter was our fight, but we speak up for ourselves. We also speak up for everyone, and we did it the most with our vote. And even though black people are saying this is not our fight, we're sitting this out, we're doing all these things like resting, there are several ways black people are showing up by not supporting Starbucks, by not supporting Target, by not supporting any company that put out D&I, by boycotting, by using our voice like I do. There's so many ways that black people still will always show up for ourselves in this country. And when we show up for ourselves, guess who benefits? Everyone else. Reach out to your fellow Asians. Reach out to your Middle Eastern Arab people. Reach out to the large Russian population that's in LA, the Armenians, the Persians. There's so many immigrant groups that live in this city, but you want to single out black people. Can't win them all. Ciao.
Please be patient with me because there's so much here. I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964. But also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against black people, knew nothing about the black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also, it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically like white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the black community. And there's so much here. I will be getting more into it, but I feel like that's the quickest answer that I can give that gets a little bit into the history. And I'm really curious to know what the black community and Asian Americans feel about this. But please be patient with me. Thank you.
Coming to terms with how anti-black the world is has been very, very odd. Well, how anti-black American the world is. Let me be specific. Like, we literally get smoked from all angles. You know, me just expressing my point of view, giving a perspective, the same as anybody else. My race is automatically attacked. My culture is automatically attacked. My lineage is automatically attacked. My complexion has gotten attacked. My hair texture is attacked. The way I dress is attacked. Like, there literally are people pretending to pick cotton as a dig. It's utterly disgusting, you know, and responding to people, meeting them where they are, it's like we're just automatically supposed to turn the other cheek and always take the fucking high road. Like, what is that? The world is so used to beating us down. I just saw this African woman going on a rant about how much she just hates Black Americans, and she lives in America. Like, ma'am, do you not understand that civil rights laws are primarily one of the reasons why you're able to successfully migrate here and set up shop and create a life for yourself? Like, it's just mind-boggling. I did not know that it was like this. And starting my journey on social media has been crazy, even with TikTok. Like, literally, me responding to racist comments, my comments get flagged. I have to appeal comments, yet the racism just easily bleeds through. It's so crazy. It kind of feels like being on an island alone. Spread love, it's your Brooklyn way. It's the Brooklyn way. My hair is crazy, but it's flying all over the place.
I woke up out of my sleep because this needed to be said. Asians want to be Black adjacent with white privilege. And just that thought alone, which is a very true thought, is kind of sickening because, again, I'll never stop speaking on it. They emulate Black culture, Black aesthetics, everything so heavily in the means of joking or because it's wacky. You know, white people try to say that all the time back in the day. Oh, Black people do this wacky, funky stuff. And then hoopla, hoopla, they try to switch it to something else. They try to give it a different name. But it's sad because, again, Asian people know what it's like to experience racism, especially from white people, and to be oppressed by white people. However, they get that bit of what they feel is an amenity and they turn it towards Black people. They want to be Black adjacent with white privilege. And that's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
If you don't like someone, why do you create fake pages to go on their page and check up on them and see what they're doing and to leave comments trying to harass them? Like, what is wrong with you? If you do not like that person, why are they living in your mind rent free? That literally says there is something wrong with you, to the fact that you are obsessed. Because if there is somebody that I do not like, they're going to be the last thing on my mind. I'm not going to go out of my way to search for their page because, first of all, you don't follow that person, right? So you are going out of your way to search for their page, typing in their username and looking for their page, but you don't like them. It's giving obsession. Why are you watching their stories if you don't like them? Why are they even on your mind, even on your consciousness? It makes no sense. Y'all need to get a life. Y'all need to heal yourselves. Y'all really, really, really need to heal yourselves because it's insane.
The Asian community is literally so anti-Black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the Black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see Black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, "Can I say the N-word now?" with a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not Black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the Black community, and it just, like, not to mention the Black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever like uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth, and I fucking see it for what it is.
You realize that by pointing this out, what you've actually done is confirm that white systemic racism against Black people has bled into other cultures, right?
Themselves in defiance of white supremacy. If you're an adult Black woman, you've likely observed the ways in which women of color can be equally vitriolic towards you, and it can sometimes come as a shock if you haven't experienced it before, because you would think with being a Black woman and then meeting with a woman of color who is ethnic and not white, our shared history of oppression would unite us, and in fact, it does not do that. And the shared history of oppression doesn't unite us, not because Black women aren't looking to reach across an aisle or extend an olive branch of collaboration or cooperativeness. It has everything to do with the fact that women of color who are not Black and who are also not white don't celebrate their ethnicity the way that Black women do. They celebrate how close they are to whiteness. They celebrate their proximity to whiteness. So that proximity to whiteness, or the lack thereof, is what determines their outlook. That's what determines their self-esteem, their confidence. Yes, they may be a person of color, but they're likely from a country where skin bleaching is the norm. They're likely from a culture or society where wearing colored contact lenses to lighten their eyes is the norm, is the standard, is the expectation. They're coming from colorist societies that strictly enforce caste systems, right? They're coming from societies that were indeed oppressed by Western imperial powers, but a holdover of that oppression is reflected in the way that their modern society is structured, especially when it comes to beauty standards amongst ethnic women and women of color in particular. Now, then you have Black women, particularly Black American women, and especially where skin bleaching is frowned upon. And while there is colorism, the colorism in our societies does not negate the self-esteem and the pride that Black women have in their skin, in their culture, in their essence, in their confidence, in their self-esteem, in the way that Black women present themselves and move through society with just this measured sense of freedom and confidence. There was a TikTok creator on here who made a note that as Black women, you know, we can't be bought, and as a result, we are extremely free. That freedom inspires envy from groups of people who are trying to align with white supremacy. Women of color and people of color in general don't view themselves as ethnic. They view themselves as ethnic when it's convenient, right? But they don't view themselves as ethnic when it comes to measuring their beauty standards or measuring their success in life. That's when it becomes very much they're comparing themselves to white supremacist standards and expectations, right? That's not the case for Black women. Black women are Black when times are good. Black women are Black when times are bad. Black women are Black when we are no longer the beauty standard, or our features are no longer the beauty standard. Black women are proud when we are at the top, when we're at the bottom, when they're in the middle, when we're educated, not educated, when we're successful, when we're not successful, so on and so forth. There's no stopping Black women. There's no limit to our happiness, to our joy, to our self-esteem. There's no limit to the way that we move through the world in spite of and in defiance of the world's hatred. So you have women of color who don't move through the world that way because they don't want to. They want to be celebrated by white standards, by white supremacy, by white attention. So they are deeply insecure of their status as not being white, like just shy of being white, just shy of being the accepted beauty standard, or just shy of being celebrated. And then the Black woman walks into the room who doesn't give a damn who she's celebrated by, doesn't give a damn who is celebrating her, because she's celebrating herself. That's clear defiance of expectations and standards, and that self-esteem, that confidence drives those women wild. You remember sometime last year when that podcaster was talking about how Black women have allegedly larger sexual organs because we sleep with Black men who have larger sexual appendages. Remember that? What was her name? I can't even remember her name, but I told her off, and you probably remember that TikTok video I made where I said her pum pum was dry like chip, right? But that's just like one small morsel of the kind of envy that women of color have towards Black women, because we celebrate ourselves. We don't care whether or not white society or even our own society or culture celebrates us in all the different shades that we come in and all of the different iterations that we come in. We celebrate ourselves, and the way that we uphold ourselves, the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we honor ourselves, our beauty regimens, when we don't have beauty regimens, whether or not we're moms, whether or not we're educated, whether or not we're anything. We're still us. You know what I mean? We still have that essence. We still just have that unspeakable it that so many other people want to put their finger on and grab and control and minimize and diminish and keep their foot on our necks and stuff. And no one can ever keep us down. And we don't care about white society standards or expectations. We live and thrive in defiance of those things. Whereas women of color, by and large, do not. They care very much about white expectations and white supremacist standards. And they cannot fathom living a life outside of those standards the way that Black women do, and hence the hatred.
That minority myth and proximity to whiteness be whooping y'all asses. Because didn't I teach you guys better? Proximity to whiteness is a what class? A privilege. And a privilege is what? Not a right. It is something that could be taken away. What I wish I could tell immigrants who migrate to this country, whether you're from Asia, the Caribbean, Africa, Latin America, doesn't matter what part of the world you come from. Whatever caste system, social hierarchy applies in your native country does not fly here. America has its own history. It's an ugly history. And it has its own social hierarchy that is upheld by white supremacy. And if you really think putting on that funky ass red hat and putting them ugly ass bumper stickers on your car is going to save you from that social hierarchy, this is your wake up call. Like I said in my last video, just because you may be considered white, have great proximity to whiteness in your respective native countries, does not mean you have white privilege in this country. It's better you hear it from me than find out on your own the hard way. When you become tokenized and you are the model minority and you're pedestalized, right? And you're looking down on everybody else and you're willing to throw everybody else under the bridge, under the bus, whatever. Never, ever, ever forget who granted you that privilege, because they will remind you. And by the way, just because you were invited to the club does not make you a member of that club. And do you know why she condemns the immigration crackdown? I hate to say it, y'all were bamboozled, you were scammed, you were duped. They sold you this idea that they were only going to go after the illegals, that they were only going to go after the criminals, right? That's what they were saying. Oh, we're not going to really target the hardworking ones who just quiet, don't commit crimes. We're going to target the bad ones. They scammed you and used your vote in the process, because never ever forget the Republicans can't win elections without minority votes. You thought you were throwing other people under the bus. And y'all are getting this wake-up call that when ICE is patrolling the streets and they're doing their raids and they're masked up and they're freaking everybody out, they're not going to be able to differentiate you between me, between her, between him. ICE, how many stories do we have to see about ICE detaining U.S. citizens, U.S.-born citizens, naturalized citizens? How many times do we have to hear about their fuck-ups, sending U.S. citizens to detention camps with no lawyers, no right to a lawyer, no representation? These people are just grabbed up on the street by unmasked, unclothed people. No due process. You thought because of your proximity to whiteness, because of your privilege, because you were tokenized, because they sold you this fucking fairy tale that you're different, you're the model minority, you did things the right way, you came here legally, you got your papers the right way, you thought you were above everybody, you thought you were better than everyone, until an organization like ICE is not going to care or really tell the difference between somebody who voted for Trump and somebody who's illegal. Because they asking for everybody's papers. I don't know if you noticed. And then have the nerve to act surprised. We told you this was going to happen. We literally told you what was going to happen. And when you give people in power the power to take away due process for one, that threatens due process for all. And I'm here to remind you, whatever privileges you may think you have or possess can be taken away by the very person who granted you that privilege. Let this be a reminder. He who puts you on a pedestal can very easily knock you the fuck off that pedestal. And have a good night.
As a Latina woman, I will never understand the need to have a proximity to whiteness in the Latino community. First of all, colorism is absolutely rampant no matter where you go with Latinos. You know, I grew up with it. One time when I was little, I came back from Cancun and I had like a tan, and my grandma made me start scrubbing myself so that I could get rid of that tan. On top of that, I've been told by both my grandmas that I need to mejorar la raza. But I was dating my ex, who was very morenito. I got into a really big fight with my aunt because she was like, Kelly, don't you want somebody with colored eyes? Don't you want somebody with lighter skin? What about your kids? Your kids are gonna come out dark. And like, my sister is like 5 shades darker than me. That was one of the biggest fights my aunt and I got into because, you know, my sister, my everything. And if my sister ever at any point begins to feel insecure about her skin color because our family members can't keep their fucking bullshit to themselves. And you know, I've had to have the talk with my sister, who's a lot darker than I am, about the fact that there are going to be people out there that do not like her simply because of her skin color. And it is so difficult to try to explain why that is to a child. Luckily, we live in a Latino community, so it's purely Latinos everywhere, and they're like all the same color as her. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like, it makes me sad to have this conversation with her. My grandma always used to tell me to marry or date a white man because they're going to take care of me and make sure that I'm like, you know, set for life. But at the end of the day, like both the kids that married white men, one of them has to deal with racism from extended family members who say that she's only with him because of his money. My other aunt, she's married to a bigot and has become a bigot herself. On top of that, one thing I noticed is that white people have no problem moving far, far away from their families. Like, they will move states over, or maybe even countries over. And, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it is just an observation because a lot of my Latina family members who married white men have picked up everything and left because of their husbands. You know, pushing them to do that, to pick up and basically leave everything behind so that they can like start a new life in a different state. And then I hear complaints specifically from these Latina women like, oh, I miss my family, like, oh, I hate not being around the family, but you know, he wanted us to move.
As an Asian American, I know that a lot of my privilege comes from our proximity to whiteness, and with that privilege comes a certain level of protection that is not the case for everybody, particularly Black and brown folks. And so I was talking about this situation where this white woman confused me for another Asian person that she had just seen, even though we looked nothing alike. And I didn't say anything in the moment because I have just become accustomed to not really calling those things out and not wanting to make people uncomfortable. And in doing that, I was not only suppressing my own voice, but I also wasn't using the privilege and the protection that I have. You know, there was never any danger, physical or otherwise, that I was in, and I certainly wouldn't have been in any danger even if I had called it out. You know, she would have just been uncomfortable probably and maybe thought twice about doing that in the future. But that's not the case for everybody in every situation, you know, especially for Black and brown folks who call out the very real racism that they see every day. There are a lot of problems with anti-Blackness in the Asian community, and so as I am trying to, you know, consciously relearn the way that I should handle these kinds of interactions, I'm glad that a lot of folks are, you know, rightfully calling out that it is, you know, incumbent upon me and other Asian Americans who have this proximity to whiteness and this privilege to speak out when we ourselves are not in danger.
Now this is funny. What they cannot stand most is the God-given black joy. Black joy hits different. It's loud, it's vibrant, it's unapologetic. It comes from 400 years of surviving, healing, and still shining. Some people hate that Black people can smile after trauma, dance through pain, rise after oppression, celebrate even when counted out, and build culture from nothing. Black joy is powerful, and to insecure people, it's threatening. Now, let's look at the root of their jealousy. Black people influence the world without trying. Black culture spreads naturally. Black creativity is limitless. Black confidence is magnetic. Black resilience is unmatched. Some people from other races spend years trying to create what black people produce effortlessly. That's why the jealousy burns. That's why the obsession grows. And that's why the resentment shows. Now, at the end of the day, this isn't about all Latinos or Asians. It's about those who copy black culture, compete with black achievements, reset black joy, and pretend they are not obsessed while watching everything black people do. The truth is, black success is loud, global, and unstoppable. And anyone who cannot handle black excellence will just have to stay mad. Because black people are not dimming their lights. They are not shrinking their joy. They are not slowing their growth. Black people will keep shining and the world will keep watching. Thank you for watching Mercy Realities. Please subscribe, like, and share.